Hola, bon dia, com esteu? Benvinguts a la sala de premsa de la ciutat esportiva del Barça. Com bé abans us he comentat, em dono la benvinguda als directius, a la piscina, òbviament, directius del club i executius també de la casa. Abans he fet esment que tenim aquí dos executius, el Manel del Río i la Marta Canós, que són persones que en un moment donat que surti algun dubte sobre el negoci dels seients que t'han donat de parlar, doncs farien algun esment. A la roda de premsa, com us he dit, que estem fent en directe per Barça Televisió, Barça One, consta d'una introducció del president i un cop acabi ell, doncs es dona pas al torn de preguntes. D'acord? Si són breus, entren moltes preguntes. D'acord? Som-hi, president.
Gràcies, Àlex. Bé, bon dia a tots, companys de Junta Directiva.
Good morning, everybody.
Mitjans de comunicació aquí presents, amb executius, treballadors i treballadores del club. Bé, les darreres dues setmanes...
The past 2 weeks, there have been two actions which have confirmed some things and which have cleared up some others. I want to underline the strength of Football Club Barcelona, and that remains confirmed. And it's also taken apart a false apocalyptic narrative from people around the club that has come either through bad faith or through bad intentions. Football Club at Barcelona are returning to the 1-to-1 ratio for LaLiga.
I, doncs, després de temps d'estar intervinguts econòmicament per la Lliga, deixar d'estar-ho. I aquest 1-1 ens permet, doncs, que puguem inscriure...
1-to-1 has meant that we've been able to register players like Pau Víctor and Dani Olmo.
El segon fet...
The second matter
hem hagut de signar
is that we have signed contracts with Nike. It's the best contract in football history, and we've returned to the 1-to-1 ratio. That matter and the fact that companies like Spotify or other partners or investors who want to be tied to the image of the club takes apart the arguments of people who are saying that the club has a bad image. We shouldn't forget that whilst Barca isn't being punished economically by the LaLiga, we're at the 1-to-1 ratio. This isn't remodeling, this isn't papering over the cracks, this is a new stadium that we're making. It's not a renovation, it's a stadium which will return to as soon as possible. With that said, the new Spotify Camp Nou, as you know, is the key to returning to generating a lot of income for many years.
Això també ho volia remarcar, igual que vull remarcar que mentre s'estan produint tots aquests fets,
whilst all these things are happening,
estem gaudint,
culés are enjoying a very competitive team based on homegrown players and reinforced by players from outside. We've got a very united squad, very committed squad, coached, I think, by an exceptional coach in Hansi Flick. All of this group has been very much strengthened in terms of the physical side, and I want to underline the great work that's being done by Pepe Conde and Julio Dos. It's an extraordinary level of performance, and everything around the first team, the likes of Deco and the sporting management have been doing a great job. And we're achieving things like we saw in Jeddah the other day with the win in the Spanish Supercopa. On March 7th, it will be 4 years since the socios decided to appoint us in charge of the club. And right from the start, from the first hours until now, the objective has been based on 4 cornerstones: the increase in income, the reduction of expenses, and the reduction of sporting salaries, but with the team not reducing competitiveness. We can't lose that at Barca. Right from the start, we had that very clear. We have to say that our recent work has been focused on not putting at risk our sporting performance, and the 4th cornerstone is the economic recovery. We had to do it, but without taking it out on the members of the club. We've achieved this. We've done it in such a way that we haven't been improvising. It hasn't been luck or focused on external factors. We've worked hard. We've worked hard and we've worked well, from the sporting side to the directors. It's been achieved because right from the start, we've been consolidating and continuing a strategic plan that's very well detailed. And we've been examining it weekly amongst those who are in charge at the club. And we've been looking to complete every step of this strategic plan. It's been completed thanks to the work that we've done, our intelligence and knowledge, and our commitment. That's fundamentally, for the executives at the club, the excellent work that they've done. They're working very well, and they've worked in such a way that they've never given up. Everything that we are doing has to have that component of loving Barca. I'd say that a large part of the success of these 4 cornerstones has been because the majority of the socios have understood from the start that this is about saving Barca from a situation that was really difficult that we had. And it's about defending Barca from attacks from outside and some from inside as well. We're a club who's got principles and values. We've got ethics, and all of this makes us more than a club. We know what Barca are all about. We know what Barca represent. Whatever's happened in the last few weeks in relation to the registration of Dani and Pau, nothing has surprised us. If you look at the history of Barca, you can see that you could expect that kind of reaction. It's no coincidence that when Barca returned to the top of football, certain parties with their corresponding media resources unite to try and impose an untruthful narrative that is nothing to do with reality. That modus operandi is one that you already know. It happens in a cyclical fashion. We all know about it. Everybody here knows it. Once again, the truth hasn't, well, the effects haven't worked out as they planned. The board, we've shown strength and determination to do our work, because they tried to destroy us. We have never given up, and the work that we've done has allowed us to return. Above all, the registration of Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor. The majority of the socies have understood that this was an attack, that it was a way of unstabling the entity. We've already said that any campaign to discredit the club will not prevent us from being a reference in the world of sport, and it won't prevent us from making Barca a loved and admired club for millions and millions of people around the world. I'm very much accustomed to receiving criticism. That's been normalized in my life. There are actions that go beyond any ethical code. I'm accustomed to that, unfortunately, because I think that actions that pass, that go beyond ethical codes aren't right. But what I can't accept is that when this fiscalization of my role is invented, I can't permit people taking advantage of criticism of the president to criticize the club. I won't let that happen, and I haven't let that happen. These past 2 weeks, I think that colleagues on the board have come out of this strengthened. We've reinforced our energy to continue competing and attacking these attacks on us, looking to destabilize the club. It's a transcendental moment in our history. And we've got the consolidation of a young team who are transferring the values of Barca. As always, we're battling against these actions which are intended to destabilize the club. Fent somiar el barcelonisme, i ja és una realitat en aquests moments. Fi, molt hauran de treballar, ja ho he dit algun cop, we have to work, and I've said, els desestabilitzadors de fora. That we've had to work against those who are trying to destabilize the club from outside, and also those from inside. We've had to work. We have to work a lot. They'll have to work a lot more to unstabilize us, because what they're trying to do is destabilize a club who have 125 years of history. I don't know if you want me to resume, summarize what's happened with the Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor case. We're ready to prepare the documentation to LaLiga or we presented it on the 26th of December. We wanted to hand it over before the year finished. From the 28th, 29th, 30th, they were checking the documentation. We had complied with the budget regulations, the one-to-one. LaLiga wanted some extra requirements that we don't think were required. We spoke, we presented documents to the Federation, asking for the licenses for the two players. The Federation said that something was missing. We worked on the extension. There was a commission between LaLiga and the Federation to try and get the licenses. From our point of view, it wasn't correct, that article that they published. They were looking for the stabilization of the club, and we didn't. We had
s'inscrivissin diversos clubs en una mateixa temporada en funció de la conjuntura. Això no era el cas perquè tant el Dani Olmo...
We had to prove that Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor had started the season for us. They had a long-term contract. That was what the documentation from LaLiga was trying to avoid, was for players from going to multiple clubs. We defended our point of view. LaLiga gave us the fair play one-to-one. From the 3rd, we presented the extension to the license to the Federation. The Federation published an article which, from our point of view, is incorrect. So we made an appeal to the CSD, the Sports Tribunal. I'm not going to go so much into detail because it's very in-depth. Barca have always been in line with the requirements. And for an emergency measure to be taken, there was going to be a difficult amount of damage to recover from. It was very solid. The idea of a good faith. And they've appreciated that. Having in mind those two requirements that we needed to provide. When we signed Dani Olmo in the summer, we were scheduled to register him. Then we had a situation in which the contract with Nike was finishing off. As you know, there was the unfortunate injury to Christensen, so we registered him through that means. We made the most of that situation to provisionally register Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor. After that, we were scheduled to sign the Nike contract. It's the biggest contract in the world of football and in sport, and it represents an important step forward in the history of Barça. It's a contract that triples the income that we were getting for this aspect. It's a new contract that benefits Barça. That's how we were able to register the players. We thought that it could even be improved last summer, so we were waiting. And it's not quite as good a contract as we have now with Nike. In that sense, we can say that when there was the injury to Ter Stegen, the legal side began to make a series of appeals to see how we were going to interpret the rules, because there was a long-term injury to Ter Stegen, and that would allow us to register Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor. So we've been working on that.
No van estimar les nostres pretensions als òrgans administratius ni als tribunals. Aleshores vam haver de seguir amb la feina que fèiem amb el contracte.
We were continuing the work with on the contract with Nike and with LaLiga. We were explaining the contracts to the socis in the General Assembly. In that moment, LaLiga said that they didn't consider it a new contract and how it could impact fair play in terms of income. They said that they'd only take into account a part of that. The route we'd planned for the legal side, I meant we made a change. From the start of February of 2024, we'd had a basic plan for the sale of the VIP boxes. A percentage of those VIP boxes have been sold, but we still got a part of that. It was a very attractive offer for investors. We managed to get 2 investors.
I un altre ha subscrit 350, si no recordo malament, 350 seients VIP. Tot això és per una quantitat que...
That is for a quantity that we needed to reach financial fair play.
Això ha estat validat per la Lliga de Futbol
Professional i va acabar confirmed
a l'1-1.
By LaLiga that it takes us to 1-1. That's the summary of how the matter with Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor has gone. To finish off, and then I'll answer any questions you have. We're very grateful to all those who believed in us. Very grateful for those who've believed in us. And we want you to continue believing, because I'm convinced that we've got some really good moments coming up and lots of success. Thank you.
Gràcies a tots. Gràcies, president. Comencem el torn de preguntes. Us estan agafant. Sí, el micro ara us el passo. Comencem amb Barça One i el que us he demanat. Quan més dinàmic entrem en aquest toma i daca de pregunta i resposta, doncs més preguntes hi entraran, d'acord? El micro no el tinc que deixar. Vosaltres sí? Vale, només disposem d'un. Un moment que me'n vaig d'aquí i comencem.
Bon dia, president. Àngels Prieto, de Barça One. El passat 5 de gener, diversos grups d'oposició i de...
Several groups opposing Barça presented
I fins i tot
a request for your
a partir de les seves
dismissal.
explicacions I del desenllaç dels esdeveniments podien demanar una moció de censura.
They were talking about a legal case.
Aquests grups I també els socis I sòcies del Barça.
A week after, how would you respond to them?
A veure, l'oposició,
My position,
jo crec que han tingut una oportunitat d'or
I
per
think
demostrar l'estima del Barça.
I've had a great opportunity to show that they've had an opportunity to show that they love Barca, and they didn't.
Al costat dels qui ens volien perjudicar,
Gone on the side of
uns mitjans de comunicació que han estat
medias who are hostile towards us,
a més, doncs, jo crec que
and more I think they're
no sé si... Clar, ara veuen que el club s'està doncs, arreglant, estem anant per un bon camí.
seeing that the club is going in a good path.
L'1-1, estem aixecant un estadi
We're in the 1-1. We're getting a new stadium and a competitive team,
doncs surten com a bolets, no sé on estan
and now they suddenly appear.
opositors en aquells moments.
I don't understand how they could oppose Barca in the moments of the utmost difficulty.
I jo els diria que paciència.
I'd say that we need to have patience.
Han perdut una oportunitat d'or per
They've lost
demostrar al Barça.
a great opportunity to show that they love Barca.
Intentat perjudicar, que ens
They tried to perjudicate Barca
han perjudicat
and hinder us,
sobretot a dos jugadors de l'equip que han patit molt.
above all two players who've suffered a lot. I respect those who ask for my dismissal, but
Hauria dimitit per una decisió
I don't think a Barca president should
pel cap.
step down because of a decision for LaLiga. It doesn't go through my head, that.
Bueno, és que, com a mínim, pensar que
At least
vendrem cara a la pell, no?
I should think that we're going to appeal it.
Crec que s'ho podien imaginar.
They could imagine that, surely.
Han actuat, la veritat és
They've
que
acted
estic molt decebut de
in a way that I'm very disappointed in.
tenen aspiracions
Those who have
dirigir el Barça.
aspirations of taking charge of Barca.
De Laporta.
They
Era
are-
al costat del Barça. Era estar al costat del Barça, de defensar.
You have to be not on Laporta's side, you've got to be on Barca's side.
S'estàvem jugant una competició, estaven desestabilitzant.
We're in a competition and they were trying to destabilize us.
Valoro enormement la força que ha tingut l'equip,
They need to help the strength that the team
que han tingut els jugadors,
have, the strength that the players have,
força mental
the mental strength
que ha tingut el Hansi Flick,
that Hansi Flick's had,
el seu equip.
and all of his team.
En aquests moments de màxim...
In those moments of
Mireu,
real hurt,
nosaltres ho aguantem tot. I ho
they
sabem, ho aguantem tot.
did a very good job. We can put up with everybody and everything.
Però el patiment que ha tingut els dos jugadors,
But the hurt that those two players have suffered, the hurt that the team have suffered,
el patiment que ha tingut el nostre entrenador
that our coach has suffered,
i el patiment en general
and in general,
en el club,
that people have provided for our club, that isn't good.
això no ha estat bé.
That hasn't been good.
I tenien una oportunitat d'or per
They had an opportunity
tot el club.
to get on the club's side and help.
En aquests moments sempre
Help in those difficult moments where we needed everybody to help Barca. Fortunately, the majority of culés have understood that we needed
que això era
their help and support, and understood that this was a clear attack to destabilize the club
és la Supercopa d'Espanya que
ahead of the Spanish Supercopa, which is a
la volem guanyar.
competition that everybody knows that we want to win.
En un lloc on té una repercussió potser més potent que la que tenia abans. Després hi ha moltes coses a analitzar d'aquesta
There are
competició.
many things to analyse about that competition, because
Si veiem els números,
if we look at the numbers,
bueno, és un altre tema aquest.
that's another matter to analyse. But
Té molta repercussió internacional.
it's got a lot of international repercussion. It's
A tots aquests que diuen que el Barça està donant una mala imatge. O sigui,
discredited all of those who said that Barca are in a bad way.
els jugadors.
And they've tried to
I això
stop us from registering players.
com ho dir, és pobre Barça si acaba en mans dels que actualment estan...
Poor Barca, if they get into the hands of those who act like that. Poor Barca.
Tant de bo no caigui mai en aquestes mans.
They should never get into the hands of these people.
Això s'ha d'estimar el Barça.
You've got to love Barca.
Per damunt dels propis interessos.
Above your own interests.
Els propis interessos per davant dels interessos.
And they put their interests ahead of Barca once again. And they were wrong there.
Jo només constato uns fets.
I'm just stating the facts.
En fi, han perdut la seva oportunitat.
They've missed their opportunity to show that they love Barca. I hope that they don't have more opportunities.
Però no estic convençut del tot.
Sí. Aquí, president, bon dia. Francesc Latorre.
Tots, no només un,
Not just one, everybody
estaven a favor de la moció de censura en aquests moments.
Everyone was in favour of making that legal case.
Mocions de censura.
I've imposed that.
Però sempre defensant els interessos.
But always defending the interests of Barca, putting that beyond any personal interests.
I no és un senyor que ha sortit i que va dir que...
It's not a person who's come out to say one thing or another.
Perquè he arribat a sentir que ens havien fet automoció de censura. Home, això ja són menys rebuscades que...
These are people jumping through hoops to try and criticise.
Però van ser tots, Després ja van...
After that, people
quan vegen que la cosa anava...
wound back on it when they saw that it wasn't a good idea.
És igual, no.
Finally, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get any more into it with my answer.
President, Francesc Latorre de TV3 i el canal Esport 3, vostè ho ha insinuat una mica ara en aquesta...
You've insinuated in your answer, but I want to ask you, how have the players been, Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor, during this process? At any time, did you think that they would ask for a move away? They've suffered a lot because they and their family, for them it's not been a nice thing.
Clar, nosaltres els dèiem, escolta, els inscriurem, perquè és que tenim la raó jurídica.
We had the legal right to register them, and
no només has de tenir la raó, sinó que també ha d'haver la voluntat de que te la donin.
There was the willingness to give them that registration.
No podien jugar.
But they've been hurt because they haven't been able to play.
Veien les conseqüències que això tenia.
There's been consequences.
Jo crec que s'han portat de cine.
I think they've
behaved
very well.
Evidentment preocupats, però
obviously they've been worried, but they've been trying not to destabilize the dynamic of the club. But of course they've suffered it inside, and their family has as well. We've tried to explain how everything's evolved, but it hasn't been easy because it didn't depend on us, it depended on another organisation. I'm happy that there's been justice done. We've never given up. However much we suffer, we've never given up. And in the end, we've achieved what we wanted, which was to register these two players. I insist that the fact that the CSD have given the measure and made their resolution has been good.
Això ho deixaria tot sense efecte. Jo crec que això és molt important. També a la manca de competència de l'òrgan que va dictar la baixa de les llicències, o la denegació de les llicències.
Once the licenses have been given, that's very important.
Competent per dictar aquesta decisió. I després això, que hi havia uns danys que podien ser de difícil reparació.
I've seen that there's been damage that could be difficult to resolve, and I saw that there was good faith, and the legal bodies had been on our side. I think that really strengthens our appeal. So I want to especially congratulate Luis Mellardo, who's our financial director,
de meravella, heu fet
They've done an extraordinary job, and they are still doing an extraordinary job.
El que heu presentat ha estat lloat per juristes de reconegut prestigi I per als òrgans competents.
I think it's a very prestigious position.
En directe al Matí de Catalunya Ràdio, vostè ha parlat de relat ignominiós I de fals relat apocalíptic.
You've spoken about an apocalyptic narrative, but the situation with Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor is being criticisms as well from Rafinha for what's been going on at the club.
Localitats del nou estadi, ha plegat un vicepresident o fins I tot hi ha hagut un jugador de bàsquet que des d'un hotel...
And you've also got the situation with Thomas Huerta, who's criticised the basketball team.
Ho dic perquè la resistència és...
The resistance is a virtue.
El seu relat no hi ha gaire espai per aquesta autocrítica. No sé si creu...
But there's no self-criticism from you in this
o si ens pot detallar en què creu que
speech.
s'ha gestionat d'una altra manera. Gràcies.
S'ha gestionat bé, s'ha gestionat com s'havia
It's been handled well.
club
I think
gestionar-lo d'aquesta manera.
the club have managed it in this way.
Amb capacitat de resistència, no rendir-te mai.
So we've got capacity for resistance, to never give up, to provide talent and bravery,
Estimant el Barça.
and loving Barca. I think that's what we've done.
Aquí, doncs, he d'estar satisfet perquè hem treballat així.
Should be satisfied because we worked like that.
Alguns tenen
It's the way that others
les crítiques del...
try to criticise the criticism from the captain. That's not true.
Això no és cert.
That is not true.
El capità va sortir, I el veu entabanar, I el veu portar a l'hort, I aleshores el nostre capità, que a part de ser un jugador extraordinari, és una persona
He's an
excel·lent.
extraordinary person, a great player.
Va dir, escolta, jo he dit que
And he said, listen,
doncs, el Barça és el millor club on podia estar.
I said that Barca's the best club you can be at.
Dit, si estigués fora,
And they asked if you were outside and if you'd seen what happened, what would you do?
qualsevol que estigués fora, a mi també m'han trucat des de fora I
I've been called from outside and I said different things.
aquest fals relat,
It's a false narrative.
vaticina, l'apocalipsis,
It's an apocalyptic narrative that they want to create.
doncs això ha creat doncs, que semblava que el club,
Has made it seem like the club were in a situation that we weren't in.
afortunadament,
Fortunately,
la victòria, doncs,
the win,
tant en els despatxos, en aquests
both in the offices and on the pitch, have helped.
aquest relat
That
fals que estava...
this false narrative has not dominated.
Has dit també el tema del capità.
You also said about the
que
matter of the
se'l va portar
captain.
una mica a l'hort amb aquestes, diguem-ne, preguntes I envolvent que se li va fer. El propi jugador estava
The player himself
en moments doncs, una mica batut perquè diu
said that he was a little bit down because he said he was.
del Barça I m'han
He
portat
talked about the greatness of Barca, and they'd only focus on a little part of his answer.
la dimissió d'un directiu no té res a veure amb aquesta qüestió I si no pregunteu-li al propi directiu, al Juli Guiu, que és una persona encantadora I que doncs, deixa de ser directiu per pròpia voluntat per una sèrie de circumstàncies que si voldreu ja les comentarem I no sé què més has dit home, si jo he de comentar aquí a l'Ertel
If I want to talk about Huertel here,
el Barça estava negociant amb el Madrid I que
a player who was negotiating with Madrid and who
el Madrid I va sortir de la manera que va sortir
left the way he did.
si, vaja, no vull donar ni bola
I don't think it deserves even commenting on because
com ha passat I
it's happened as it happened and that's it.
això és el gran problema, l'Ertel
Is that a big problem, Huertel?
l'Ertel,
Is that the big problem that we have
d'imatge, jo crec que
for our image?
treure-ho de mesura. No vull fer un debat amb tu.
I'm not going to debate with you.
Hola, president. Aquí Marta Ramon, en directe al Món RQ. Jo li volia preguntar...
I want to ask you about the operation for the VIP boxes. What effect does this have on LaLiga not receiving that on the 26th? Can you confirm that there was no approval of this measure? What were LaLiga asking for that to be to get the okay? What investments will there be afterwards? Because this has not been announced officially and the members don't know about it. This operation will continue doing it.
Hagués servit per aconseguir l'1 o no, l'hauríem fet igualment.
If we can do it or not, we'll continue working on this operation.
Estem molt satisfets d'haver creat un
really
que no existia.
Satisfied to have created this project which didn't exist.
Hi ha uns càlculs que dius, acabeu la frase, perquè o no ho han entès bé, perquè deien, a veure, tants seients VIP, tants calés, per tant són 300 milions, i resulta que han venut per 100 milions. No.
The math said
300 milions els seguirà cobrant el Barça.
It doesn't work out the way it's published because people leave things out.
I a més, 100 milions. A més, són 100 milions per tenir
the 7 million month after month for the rights to use these VIP boxes.
Guanyant un marge, a més del preu que fixa el club, que guanyin ells un marge, ells ho gestionen i ells corren amb el risc i el benefici d'aquestes operacions, o l'explotació la poden cedir a tercers guanyant un.
The use could also go to third parties.
És aquest producte. Aquest producte no l'hem inventat nosaltres.
We haven't invented this product.
Anys que està funcionant.
There's been years and years of American stadiums doing this, but what's happened is that we've adapted it.
Pensem que l'hem adaptat al Barça i pensem...
We've adapted it to Barça and it seems much more beneficial for the entity.
Uns fons americans que ens el volien també volien desenvolupar-lo i alguns volien invertir fins i tot.
There were some American companies who wanted to invest in it, but we've looked at the conditions. There's no impact on that from financial fair play.
Els inversors.
Investors.
Hi ha un inversor que és de Qatar.
There's an investor from Qatar.
Subscriure 30 milions.
For 30 million.
Seients que tenien explotació. I va desembolsar els 30 milions. Estem, acreditar davant de la Lliga de Futbol Professional.
They presented that, and there's another one.
Resulta que en el moment en què
it turns out that
70 milions,
the other one was 70 million, with 40% of that invested. That won't be until the 31st. That was part of the conversation with the banks. That's why the money hasn't come in until the 31st in the morning.
Nosaltres vam complir amb tots els requisits.
We have to comply with all of the documentation before the 31st, and the rules didn't say that we had to have the money to present. That's the discussion with LaLiga.
I nosaltres, davant que era un requisit de la Lliga, ho vam complimentar.
We've complemented that with part of it.
I l'altre s'havia fet abans de fi d'any, l'enviament, però no es va poder...
The rest have been organised before New Year.
Va ser que és la de molts. Nosaltres hem presentat la documentació en temps i forma.
¿Den? Sí. Hola, aquí. Fernando, aquí. Aquí. Petit, soc petit. Fernando Polo, del Mundo Deportivo. En primer lloc, si ens podria explicar també què va
Could you explain what's going to happen
si és veritat que dintre
after that famous
com s'ha dit,
celebration
contra l'Atlètic Club de Bilbao?
Just before the semi-final before Athletic Club. You've spoken about destabilization,
directament al senyor Javier Tebas, president de la Liga.
do you think that Javier Tebas has been one of those who've tried to destabilize the club?
Referent a... Jo tenia una eufòria continguda.
I was containing my euphoria.
Un moment d'eufòria continguda perquè
I was in a euphoric moment
aconseguit una cosa
because we'd achieved something that was very difficult,
aconseguit contra tots i
and
contra
we achieved it against everybody and against everything.
en el marc d'aquesta eufòria continguda, doncs vaig tenir una reacció.
So I had a reaction.
Però en cap cas
And,
vaig pujar de la llotja, en cap cas doncs vaig insultar ningú.
no way was I insulting anybody or directing it at anybody.
No ho vaig fer,
I didn't do that.
perquè doncs aquesta eufòria continguda tenia una
That
part d'indignació.
euphoria had a part of it was indignation.
En aquells moments em venia al cap el patiment.
At that time, I was thinking about the suffering of everybody.
Sentit, amb el president de la federació havíem estat parlant i ell havia dit doncs, que doncs, veia clar que s'havien d'atorgar les llicències
He saw that it was clear that the licenses were going to come through.
I de forma doncs, directa entre els dos el que pensava. I bueno, que de fet després ja en l'acte del dia següent
So in the day after,
ho vam aclarir.
I spoke and I clarified things.
Tal com raja. No m'agrada fer el paperet.
I don't like being the centre of the attention in that way.
Continguda,
It was a contained emotion.
que bé, que és la que és i ja
It is what it is, and we'll leave it there.
Què has dit més? No pretenc assenyalar en aquests moments
I don't want to single out anybody
individual, perquè
individually.
que cadascú està en el dret de fer el que
Everybody has their own right to do what they want.
l'estat de dret. Creiem doncs, que gràcies a que tenim l'estat de dret no s'haurien de produir circumstàncies com aquestes de que
We thought, as we're right, that these things shouldn't happen, that they act and then they ask for explanations.
esperar-se el que s'havia d'esperar.
When it's a legal matter, you have to wait to comment.
Nosaltres estàvem fent feina
You could see that we were doing a difficult job.
feina molt
We're
complicada.
doing a really difficult job.
I ho hem tingut a tot i a tots en contra.
And we've had everybody and everything against us. Well, not everybody.
Agrair també
But what I want to be grateful for is
pacients i heu
that some people have been patient
espera de
and have been waiting to see what happens with everything. I think that's how things should be done.
fa el que vol. Ara després també les conseqüències són les que són.
The consequences are what they are, but there are people, I don't want to single them out,
Ni se'ls ajudo així, no? Persones que doncs, heu estat
who have been
actitud
showing an attitude that
que heu fet
has
una
been
crítica objectiva
destructive, that hasn't been objective.
heu anat amb l'assetjament amb el que alguns han anat amb
Some have
a mi, a la Junta Directiva, demanant
tried to single out me and
decisions.
create divisions.
A més, jo sí, el que he vist en aquest cas
What I've seen in this case is an excess of
de bilis.
bile being expelled.
I alguns, fins i tot, molt pocs, però que ja s'ho faran, han destilat odi. I això
There's been a lot of hate.
és trist de veure.
It's really sad to see.
I el que sí que em quedo és amb
What I'll take away from this
els mitjans, sobretot, els qui doncs, han estat prudents, han estat
is the media who've been prudent, who've waited to analyse the entire circumstances,
posició molt més intel·ligent.
because it's a much more intelligent position to take than those who've
Tot i a destrossar tot.
come out to looking for blood.
És un patiment,
All that they've done is cause suffering.
però com som forts hem
But
resistit.
they have caused suffering. The thing is, we're strong, and so we've
I ara doncs
ended up getting what we were looking for.
de manera que a mi m'ha semblat vergonyosa, se l'han de...
I think it's embarrassing the way people have come out looking to damage us.
¿Qué tal, presidente? Buen día, David Bernabéu, Diario Sport TV. Felicidades por la Supercopa. Yo quisiera preguntarle una cosa.
I want to ask you something.
En la época del Fan Blau, Núñez siempre le señalaba como que quería desestabilizar al club, ¿no? Y usted defendía que usted no quería desestabilizar al club.
Come out and said you didn't want to destabilize the club in your time.
Gobernar el club. y que no coincidía con lo que hacían.
You didn't agree with what they did at that time. Do you think there can be opinions?
Ningún interés de desestabilizar al club, que sean simplemente opiniones.
And that they were just opinions, and not an intention to destabilize the club.
Y que no todas. La pregunta es si usted cree.
The question is, do you think that amongst all the opinions from journalists, do you think that there has to be a network to destabilize the club, and it can't just be a personal opinion? I'm talking about certain groups, certain journalists. There have been many who have had this intention of destabilizing the club, and others who haven't. I respect all opinions, but I'm not immune to this. Some do it just because they really believe that that's what they have to say, and others, maybe nobody hears that. Everybody can do what they have to do. Now we can celebrate the fact that things didn't work out well for them. We're excited that things haven't gone well for them, precisely because of what I said, because we've been strong and we've been decisive in terms of doing our work and supporting the players. We haven't given up at any moment. We've suffered, but we've worked hard and we've achieved it. I'm really aware. Well, this is a cycle, and this modus operandi will continue to happen. Some people are waiting for another situation that's difficult to resolve, where the club are looking for solutions, and they will try make sure that we don't do that. Are some looking to destabilize the club? Yes. The team? Yes. Others doing it for other reasons that I don't know about, I'm sure. We know who they are. You know who they are. And here nobody has lost out.
Aquí al darrere, Carles Ruiz Pérez del diario La Vanguardia.
I want to ask you about the statements from the 3rd of September in which you said that Barça weren't in 1-1 because they didn't want to. It took a while to achieve it, lots of suffering. In time, if you changed those opinions, or would you stand by that thought? You can interpret what I say how you like. That moment, we could have reached an agreement with Nike and got an agreement that's worse than the one we have now. And if we had taken that agreement, we'd be in 1-1. And we would have been able to register those players, but we thought that we could get a better deal. And when we had alternatives, I haven't explained the entire story. When we had alternatives, we had ones that had a risk. If we'd signed the contract, we would have been in 1-1, but at the expense of having a worse contract. We had the alternative of Christensen's registration being given to the players and Ter Stegen's registration as well. We had the match with Gavi as well that we tried to do with Dani. Certain things didn't work out that didn't depend on us. When you talk about things, there's interpretations in those moments, because all of these analysis about budgets are really complex and difficult. They're interpretable. I'm sure that I'll continue improving economically. We're not the only ones who have been open to various interpretations of things. There were a series of changes in 2022, and that's created all of this process. But obviously, what I said on the 3rd of September was valid, but there's been a series of circumstances that, as we understand it, we could bring in Chesney, we could have Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor, but LaLiga said that we couldn't. So we were working on other alternatives. And we always had the contract with Nike, which is the best sporting contract ever for a large amount, and that showed that we could perfectly reach one-to-one and register Olmo. That's what I said. We were looking for solutions, and we found them.
Aquí, Joan Domènech del periòdico. Jo volia preguntar-li amb què es basa per dir que el Barça té el millor contracte de la història del món del futbol amb Nike.
What makes you say that Barça have the best contract in sport with Nike?
Amb un soci que ja és del club, amb una empresa que ja treballa amb el club. Quina és la necessitat que hi hagi que vingui algú de fora?
The need for someone to come in from outside to help or substitute homegrown executives. It's been a process. I thought the contract we had with Nike, we had to change because it had a series of items that we weren't in agreement with. It had limitations in terms of branding. It didn't have e-commerce. All of that meant it was a contract I left. For my own free will in 2012, the contract I had with Nike was, I'm not going to talk about numbers, but it was very similar in terms of quantity to what we had when I arrived in 2021. 11 years had passed. We had a very similar contract. I said to the CEO that this had to change. We had to do it in 6 months. We had meetings with Nike, and there was no way of doing it. But this was a millstone around our neck. I knew the people from Nike, and we met to create a strategy. We tried for a while, and it didn't work out, and then we changed the strategy. We felt that it was a matter that we could do with another strategy. It's a strategy that now you see the results, and I'm satisfied with the decision. We put another group in to change this up. It was a strategy that was juridical and marketing, and we managed to achieve this contract.
Això, doncs, també dilucidant-se la relació Nike-Barça amb mèrits d'aquell contracte que no estàvem...
Relationship between Nike and Barça
entre les dues parts, doncs, desconfiança.
had a bit of a lack of confidence, a lack of trust because of the way the deals had gone. Thanks to the intervention of an intermediary,
circumstàncies que podia fer aquesta funció,
we made it work.
ens vam apropar postures.
We got closer together in our stances.
A l'estiu, que va permetre que nosaltres, doncs,
That allowed us
uns diners que Nike no
to bring in money that Nike hadn't paid, that they owed us.
que nosaltres
It allowed us to
una oferta
look for an offer.
que retiressin, doncs, els procediments judicials que
Allowed us to
doncs, interposats.
work forward on the legal matters.
Confiança, gràcies.
We recovered confidence in each other and trust, and obviously
No té res a veure amb la bona feina.
it's got nothing to do with the good work that the club have been working on. Have been doing on the contract that we've got with multinational in Nike. We're very satisfied with that. We've recovered confidence and trust as well.
En el món de l'esport i que, per tant,
And the impact that Barca have in the world of sport with the best contract in the world of football is there.
doncs, hem reconèixer la feina feta.
So we have to recognise the work from the mediator
proporcionalment
and what he's offered proportionally
com el Barça.
to a multinational company that's Barca.
Bon dia, president. Aquí. Aquí. Bon dia. Frank Robert de Televisión Española. Dice que no quiere
You said that you don't want to single out anybody,
o señalar, pero ¿cómo le ha sentado?
but how did you feel that LaLiga, presided over by Javier Tebas,
CSD por Olmo y Pau Víctor y también
opposed the decision by the CSD? How do you feel about the fact that the majority of other Primera División clubs opposed it?
Cada uno está en su derecho.
Everybody has their own right.
Y te estoy diciendo antes que soy
As I said
defensor
before, I
del Estado de Derecho. Lo que no puedo decir es que ellos no pueden hacer lo que
defend what I believe. I can't say that nobody else can defend what they believe.
Todo el mundo está en su derecho.
Everybody has their own right.
Creo que, bueno, yo no creo que todo lo que interponga.
I don't think that everything that comes in is against the
que hayan interpuesto aún ningún
registration of players. I'm not aware of that. I wouldn't say it's the majority.
ni creo que lo hagan
Nor do I think that they
perjudicar la inscripción.
do it to hinder the inscription of players. That's my opinion. But
Pues, mi intuición.
that's just my intuition.
Vaya que no tengo ninguna intención de atizar a nadie.
I've got no intention to single out anybody.
Que se han producido y que estoy dando mi opinión.
I'm just giving my opinion on things that have happened.
Que aceptar la
And I have to accept the opinions of others. What about the opposition of Florentino Perez?
Vale, ahora, millón. Perfecto. De nuevo, buenos días, señor presidente. Le comentaba que imagino que en Jeddah...
I was saying that I imagine in Jeddah you spoke with Florentino Perez about everything that happened with Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor, bearing in mind that Real Madrid have been one of the clubs who haven't publicly opposed the registration of the players. Could you consider him?
No sé si qué le comentó el presidente.
What did you say to him? What did you?
Y también si algunos de esos
Also, do you think any of those presidents who released those statements
en contra de esa inscripción le han comentado en comité
have they spoken to you in private
o se han expresado de forma distinta con
in a different way to you?
Mire, no le voy a desvelar las conversaciones.
I'm not going to reveal private conversations I've had with other presidents.
Sí que puedo decirle es que
What I can say is that
los clubes que no se han posicionado en
clubs who haven't opposed us, I'm grateful to. I think they've seen clearly that this was the path they had to take. We could be the utmost rivals on the pitch, but off the pitch as a club, and we have to defend the interests of everybody amongst everybody. Clubs who opposed it, obviously, I didn't feel good about that, nor do I agree with it. But there are many clubs who didn't, and I'm grateful to them. They should have some legal services who know what we're talking about. I know that the defence that Barça have made in this matter is within the realms of legality. I also don't want to go into technical aspects or judge anything, to not adjudicate any aspect of the process. I think that I have to respect the position of all parties, and above all, believe in the pretenses that we are defending. I'm not going to talk about anything that I was talking about with Florentino Perez, but in the Supercopa, I did speak to him about the Supercopa amongst the executives with Real Madrid there, and we said that we need to improve aspects of the Supercopa, although I do have to recognise that the organisation was very good. But the travel to Saudi Arabia, being there for a week, maybe we should improve the remuneration for that. And, but so we were talking just generally. The atmosphere, the cordiality between us. There was that matter of Dani Olmo and Pau Víctor and everything that was happening between Barça and the organisations that didn't get the licence, but it was all already sorted out by the time we met.
Adrià Soldevila, en directe al que t'hi jugues de Ser Catalunya. No sé si ens pot concretar, donar el detall de les
specify who the organisations are in Qatar.
President, la botifarra amb patates o mongetes?
A veure, no hi ha problema ja us he dit que és una empresa de Qatar i una empresa d'Emirats.
I said that there's a company from Qatar and from the Arab Emirates.
LaLiga va fer els compliance.
LaLiga are going to make the compliance analysis, and we are as well.
Molts milions d'euros per tenir, que em va bé que m'ho preguntis perquè abans se sembla...
It's good that you asked me. I think I said one figure, and it's actually another one, so we'll publish that figure later on. So I just got a little bit confused with my explanation.
Li he de donar records al tio Faja. Gràcies. I després, al tio Faja. Gràcies. I després em refereixo a... O sigui que no ni em refereixo al grup ni al programa, em refereixo al tio Faja. I després la botifarra amb mongetes.
Botifarra sausage, I'll have that with beans, I think.
Les amb patates.
¿Qué tal, presidente? José Álvarez para El Chiringuito.
Bueno, estamos viendo un discurso a nivel presidente, pero yo también quiero saber
I want to ask you about
cómo lo ha vivido a nivel
how you've experienced this at a personal level, if you suffered in the last few days from these attacks.
en varias ocasiones.
We say that you've almost broken down in various moments. What do the coolers tell you on the street?
Está contento, está feliz.
I'm happy. They're happy. We just won the Super Copa. We had a spectacular first half to that game. And
Viendo cómo los culés estaban en
I've seen how the players the fans are celebrating at Canaletas. We were celebrating in Jeddah, and
todo y nos sumamos a la fiesta.
we joined in the party
Desde el avión.
from the plane back.
Es que fue magnífico.
It was magnificent. It's always beautiful to win.
Un gran equipo y
We also beat a great team. That gives it more value.
bueno, lo he pasado como con mis compañeros, pero nosotros lo aguantamos.
We dealt with the pressure. We're made of stronger stuff.
Lo que sufres también es por eso, por ver cómo
The
sufres.
thing you suffer with is seeing how the players are suffering, how it's destabilizing the team, how people are worried.
Una angustia muy grande. Me la crea a mí, por supuesto, pero también se la crea a Deco, se la crea a todos los
It's
miembros.
happened to Deco, the members of the commission, Bojan, to me.
Los compañeros de
We've all
estábamos allí. Era una tensión cada mañana.
we've all gone through a lot of tension,
Noticias de cómo evolucionaba el
waiting to see the news about how everything was
confianza de que nos
developing.
darían la cautelar para que pudieran jugar contra el Bilbao, el Athletic Club de Bilbao. Esto no se produjo a pesar de que
Despite
cumplimos con lo que
the fact we'd almost achieved
era, porque la cautelar la dieron el
what we were looking for. We got the measure approved on the day of the game, the 8th.
hacerse efectiva hasta el día 9, que fue cuando la Federación y la Liga finalmente
That was when LaLiga finally registered the players.
y bueno, reiterar, ¿no?, el agradecimiento.
I want to reiterate the gratitude I have.
Estoy convencido, yo os animo a seguir creyendo porque
I'm sure that you'll
yendo por buen camino.
continue believing us, in us, because I know you are one of the people who
Que has estado
has been patient, who's been waiting to see how everything developed, who hasn't got ahead of himself.
no te las has tenido que comer con patatas, o sea.
Una hora llarga, perquè serà tots els projectes possibles, farem 4 o 5 preguntes últimes i tancarem aquí, d'acord? El dia de Nadal de Granada. Amigos, sisplau,
Ara sí. Primer una pregunta esportiva. S'esperava guanyar de pallissa al Real.
Were you expecting to beat Real Madrid so comprehensively? And also a question. You spoke about the VIP seats with the Qatari and Arab Emirates investors.
100 milions que s'han ingressat ara, però té un còmput total de 300 milions. És només si poguéssim esclarir això, sisplau.
Could you clarify the financial details?
Hi ha un company teu que feia un titular dient
There was a colleague of yours who published an erroneous number.
1.000 euros l'any per seient per
saying how many euros it was per year, and it did the maths wrong.
No, és que són aquests 300, si és el càlcul correcte, perquè
That's the right calculation.
perquè a més, nosaltres tenim el dret
We had the right
seient VIP
for the price per VIP seat to increase it.
tenint la propietat.
The club still own the seats, and the price we can raise, obviously, market prices, otherwise that would not be correct.
Podem pujar-los a 25.
But we can put them up to 25.
I el qui té la gestió pot fer un marge per sobre d'aquests 21. Ara, no m'agafeu ara
a margin. I don't have the numbers. Don't quote me on the numbers because I don't have them defined.
Va per aquest ordre.
But it's
A més d'aquests
in that way.
suposats que anirem cobrant fins fins al que sempre, perquè som els propietaris d'aquests seients,
We're the owners of these
hem cobrat
seats, but we've covered
hem subscrit 100 milions més, dels quals hem cobrat actualment
more than
per una banda i 28 per una altra.
we have now from one side and the other.
Del Barça, i que és el que
It helps Barca, and it's what LaLiga were demanding for the contracts.
és així, és un producte molt bo.
It's a really good product.
Marta Canós,
We've got Marta Canós here, the executive from the club. Manel's here as well. Marta, if you want to explain the VIP
o creus que ja s'ha dit
seats,
de fet,
you can.
no fer-ho més llarg,
To
una comissió
not prolong this,
econòmica traurà un informe de
we'll publish an economic report on this that will be available to everybody.
no sé, sí, que sí guanyaríem. Mira,
And the win against Real Madrid. Once we've beaten Athletic Club, there's a lot of tension. I think that the Olmo and Pau Víctor situation gave us a boost.
s'estava desestabilitzant, va ajudar a estabilitzar-lo.
It helped to stabilize us.
Molt bona feina perquè tenim un entrenador que és excepcional.
The coach did a great job because he's an exceptional coach.
L'opinió dels jugadors, i a més que estàvem amb els pares, de fet, fins i tot amb els pares dels jugadors.
I was with the parents of the players. There's a lot of contact with them because they were in the same hotel.
Els jugadors estaven convençuts de...
They said that the players were convinced they were going to win. You saw how we came out.
Vam tenir oportunitats.
We had opportunities.
I no es van arronsar i van continuar.
We kept going.
Un gran partit.
It was a great game.
Sí? Bon dia a tothom. Manel del Río, director corporatiu. Faré una breu explicació.
I want to make a brief explanation of the PSL.
Sí? Hola? Millor... És un producte que, com bé diu el president...
It's a product, as the president said. The club weren't demanded to make, but it doesn't affect the future earnings of the club. It's, we haven't had the opportunity to explain. That's maybe why it's been published erroneously in the media. These seats are already sold.
Vendre aquests ingressos anticipadament al descompte no es podria. Per tant, el que es fa és crear un actiu intangible.
What we're doing is creating an intangible product which gives access to be able to sell these seats.
22.000 euros a l'any, estaríem d'acord que durant 30 anys seria una suma d'uns 660.000 euros. Aquí estem d'acord. Aquests 660.000 euros el club els seguirà cobrant. Però a sobre...
The club will continue getting the percentage of the seats, but will also have the opportunity to sell to a third party, which allows us to exploit that.
S'ha construït una primera i una segona anella VIP que ha donat al club la capacitat de generar més ingressos, sinó que a sobre s'ha creat un actiu nou.
We've created a new
addicional
asset that we can use
100 milions en base als 425 més 75.
To increase earnings. It's a test, a commercial test to see for the new stadium what capacity we can have for it, because it's an asset we've got, and we can maximize the earnings from the new stadium.
Hola, presidente. Soy Juan Jiménez de AS. Quería hacerle dos preguntas. Hace unos meses le dijo a los compañeros de RAC que si no estaban en la Superliga en la temporada 24-25,
Some colleagues said that
el paso a la 25-26 se bajaba de ese tren. Quería saber si eso es así, si el año que viene Superliga si se baja del tren. Y quería
You wanted to get out of the Super League project.
Bueno, a ver, la Superliga sigue.
The Super League continues.
Previsto que fuera
It was scheduled to come
que se implementara
earlier, to be implemented earlier.
Estaba diseñando, pues ya fuera una realidad, pero en este sentido, pues
But in this sense,
está retrasando, pero
it's being delayed. But the Super League project is there and it remains alive.
reitero, es
I reiterate that
clubs
it's so that clubs have more earnings,
europeo,
there's more stability in European football,
intentando armonizar.
always trying to harmonise the Super League with the domestic leagues.
Nosotros somos proactivos.
We're proactive in this harmonisation of European football.
Clubs que estamos promoviendo la
Clubs who are promoting the Super League, we're also doing it to avoid other competitions
como preeminentes y
becoming preeminent
que no podamos
and
competir.
not allowing us to compete.
Como la Superliga podemos estar en desventaja competitiva.
That we could maybe be at a disadvantage competitively and also in terms of management, because there are other competitions who earn a lot more money than us. So we're pushing this project for the Super League.
Araujo, esto lo tendréis que comentar con nuestro
Araujo, you'll have to talk with the director of football. He knows the situation for each player in our squad.
Presidente, aquí Elena Condis de la cadena Copa. Yo también tengo dos preguntas de futuro. La primera, siguiendo con el tema de Ronald Araujo, vimos ayer unas imágenes.
Ronald Araujo, we saw some footage where Lewandowski tried to convince him to stay. You as a president, are you going to try and convince him?
Nosotros queremos que los jugadores que tenemos en esta
Players that we've got in this squad at the moment,
consideramos que todos son muy útiles.
we consider that they're very useful for Barca, and we want them to continue. In Ronald's case, he's got a contract, and he has to respect it. For circumstances that I don't go into, I don't really know in detail either.
Está hablando con la dirección deportiva y allí
There's talk with the sporting direction. We're going to try and find a solution.
es un jugador al que
But he's a player who we appreciate a lot, both at a professional level and above all at an individual level, a personal level. We've got a really, really direct relationship with him. We've got some circumstances that have come up which
no quiero detallar,
I don't want to go into in detail,
aún hay margen para buscar.
but there's still time to look for a satisfactory solution.
La segunda es, usted ha defendido su gestión, incluso
You've defended your management.
Los opositores.
No, pobres los opositores no. Pobre al Barça.
Pobre al Barça, sí queda, sí, pobre el Barça, pobre el Barça.
Cae en manos de según quién.
Sí.
I said that Barca would be a poor Barca if they got in the hands of others
Al lado del club,
who haven't put themselves on the side of the club
nos están
and have taken the side of those who are trying to destabilize us.
nuestro capitán.
Our captain
El sentido de sus palabras no iba en el sentido que recogía.
didn't say things in the sense that they were reported.
Defendió al club.
Our captain defended the club.
Su vinculación, su
He defended
amor por el club.
his love for the club, and at no time did he say what came out.
El sentido de sus palabras, y vosotros lo sabéis cuando hacéis
And
una
you know
entrevista,
that when you do
además que eres muy buena periodista,
an interview,
el sentido de las palabras no eran
the
esas.
sense of the
Una parte
statement wasn't what was published.
Acabo la pregunta, si me permite. Usted que se
sí que
siente.
le permito, pero le he contestado. ¿O no
Sí,
quiere
sí,
que le
sí.
conteste?
I'll allow you to continue, but I've answered you.
Sí, pero que me refería.
No, pero si no quiere que le conteste, no le contesto.
If you don't want me to answer, I won't answer.
Sí.
You asked, and I answered.
En relación a las próximas elecciones, si usted.
I want to ask you about the next elections. Are you going to stand? I'm busy running Barca at the moment in these transcendental moments. I'm enjoying these moments with my board. It's delightful to be president of Barca, despite the suffering that's come about due to many circumstances. We're seeing that our work is having a certain success, and we see that this is increasing all the time. Above all, I'm enjoying the fact we've got a very competitive side who are making sure that the culés are enjoying a lot. I hope everybody's enjoying it. Sometimes it seems that people don't want to enjoy this competitive team that's making the world fall in love with it. We want to be a worldwide reference as a football club for our values, for what happens on the pitch, for what happens off the pitch, and for our history, especially in a year in which we've reached 125 years of history. What I want is that everything materializes that we've been talking about. We're building a new stadium, not remodeling it, not touching one up. It's practically a new stadium. We will return when we can. We'll return when we can, when there's the circumstances to do that. I said at the time we want to return at the start of this year if there weren't any problems. That was the full phrase, because you always take these things in parts. There were things that weren't expected that happened that delayed the project. There's always circumstances that come up.
En este caso, pues se ha producido esto. Ahora, yo quiero que se materialice todas estas cosas.
We want these things to materialize. The team continue winning. We want the team to continue playing well, that we continue to be admired by the world of football. Let's not forget that we're playing with young players. I saw it in Saudi Arabia. It was wonderful to see how fans are asked to see our players. It was wonderful. Not just in Saudi Arabia, but around the world. There are some who explain a reality that's got nothing to do with what's really happening. That poor narrative, I make everybody know, because I've got the right to express my opinion, that it's not what some of you are saying. I'm very grateful to those who've believed in us and who continue believing.
Todo lo que podemos por el Barça y todo lo que sabemos por el Barça, que ya cada vez sabemos más.
All the time we know more and more what's happening and how we're doing things well. We've won a trophy that's important this season, the Supercopa. We've won very well with a spectacular game, with a brilliant play, with a coach who's doing brilliantly. And there's much more success this season. We give a lot more happiness to Barça.
Bon dia, president. Felicitats per la victòria a Aràbia. Jordi Blanco de ESPN. Corto y al pie.
Getting to the point, you've thanked the clubs who have stood by Barça. You've got Sevilla, Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, Valladolid, Espanyol. Could you break relations with the clubs who opposed the CSD's verdict.
A presidentes de federaciones en el palco de Arabia Saudí. Eso se ha publicado, se ha dado por
And
hecho,
can you,
se ha llegado a insinuar que le podrían sancionar. ¿Usted piensa reaccionar ante
do you want to react to the lies that were said about your celebration in Saudi Arabia?
Es que son mentiras, yo no insulté a nadie.
They're lies. I didn't insult anybody.
La federación lo que pensaba a raíz de lo que habíamos hablado con anterioridad.
We'd spoken before.
Insulté a nadie.
I didn't insult anybody at that time.
Hice nada de lo que dicen.
I didn't do anything of what they said. I offered up some words.
Te he dicho de una contenida euforia.
I was in a state of euphoria.
Esta euforia, una parte de indignación porque
There was a bit of indignation as well because
lo que nos habían dicho que pasaría.
what happened wasn't what they said would happen.
De la realidad no iba con ellos toda esa reacción y ellos lo saben.
It wasn't anything to do with the people. Others have said it was.
El día antes de la final yo creo que quedó más que acreditado la buena relación que
I think it's more than proof the great relationship we've got with the presidents.
hay muchos que son
There's
aficionados.
a lot who are fans of us. So we've got a really good
Hombre, no voy a decir lo contrario. No voy a
relationship.
los que nos
I'm not going to lament those who haven't supported us, and
he hecho eso. Lamento los que no se han pronunciado.
I lament
los que se han pronunciado en contra.
that those have come out stood against us, but I don't think that's the way we should act as clubs
A otros clubes
in relation to other clubs,
de este tipo, porque
especially for a matter like this.
ya lo dicen, ¿no? Aquí nosotros estamos todos para cumplir las normas.
We're all here to comply with rules. Rules are for everybody.
La aplicación de las normas se hace en función de las circunstancias.
And you do it based on circumstances. You don't apply
Todo de forma igual.
everything in an even manner. You do it in a equitative way.
Pero bueno, esto ya es otro tema.
But that's another matter.
Romper relaciones.
Breaking relations with clubs. No, everybody has their right to do what they
Defender
consider
los intereses del Barça, claro que sí.
right. But defending Barca, I'll do that,
Veremos en función.
of course. And we'll see how we do that. We'll see how everything develops.
Una serie de equipos que yo no tenía conocimiento de que se habían pronunciado en contra, algunos. Gracias por la información. Y en este sentido, en este momento veremos cómo evoluciona.
And we'll see how things develop.
Hay algunos clubes que se han pronunciado en
Of
contra.
course, there are clubs who came out against us,
De ninguna manera se tenían que haber pronunciado en contra.
and they really shouldn't have,
Razones.
for many reasons. That surprises me.
No nos ha sorprendido nada de lo que ha pasado estas 2 semanas. Hombre, que algunos clubes se hayan pronunciado.
For some clubs to stand against us, it looks a little bit out of place.
Hola, ahora sí. Josep Capel de Radio Nacional de España. Me gustaría, para aclarar, ¿qué es lo que le pide la explicación que usted da de todo lo ocurrido con el tema de las inscripciones de Dani Olmo? Explica que a partir del día 27 empieza.
You said after the 26th, the documentation had to arrive. What was asked by LaLiga?
Para que el día 31 desinscriban a los jugadores y digan que no han entregado toda la documentación. ¿Qué es en concreto lo que le reclaman al fútbol?
What was the complaint towards Football Club Barcelona?
Cada uno puede hacer respecto a los clubes lo que quiera. El señor Tebas, como presidente de la
Javier Tebas,
pertenece, si cree usted que
of LaLiga, do you think,
en este caso está perjudicando?
in this case, do you think he's constantly hindering Barca?
Repito, ellos están en su derecho.
I repeat, they're in their rights to request additional documentation.
Criticarlo.
I can't criticize them, although
Soy de los que opinan.
I'm one of those who believes
Base la teoría de los actos propios
that
en contra de actos.
they've acted
han actuado en contra de sus propios actos.
against their previous actions.
Documentación adicional. Pero bueno, lo aceptamos.
But we accept that.
Lo aceptamos de tal manera que
We also accept it, and any documentation they've asked for,
por compliance que tuviéramos
if that's a compliance report from the auditors. Imagine asking for that on the 31st of December of an auditor. There was superlative tension, but we've overcome all the obstacles.
en un momento determinado, quizás pues por la premura de tiempo,
At one moment, it was a little bit too much to ask the time frames, but we've been able to overcome those obstacles.
más datos sobre las empresas.
They wanted more details about the companies who'd invested in these products.
Bueno, informe de los auditores, un segundo informe de los
A
auditores.
second report from the auditors, a series of technical requirements that we've been complementing.
Toda esta, el 31 de diciembre,
On the 31st of December, all of that was presented.
era acreditar una parte del desembolso mínimo
The only thing
que la Liga
was
para
we wanted to
este producto impactar en fair play.
show how this would impact fair play. It wasn't requested in other cases. In this case, it was, because there wasn't time to present reports that in some cases have been requested for companies.
Solvencia exigieron un depósito de 40% de las operaciones.
There was a 40% deposit required to show
Este inversor ha depositado uno del 100%
that
y el otro 40%.
in one case it was 100%, in another 40% to as a guarantee.
Martínez, donde hacer un poco iba en la línea que comentaba el compañero, viendo a toro pasado cómo han
Seeing everything that's happened and how the players have suffered,
la junta directiva, cambiaría el procedimiento.
would you change the
Sabiendo que la Liga les podría
procedure?
haber tomado estas decisiones, o sobre todo que quizás el Barça Vision.
Do you think, what about Barça Vision, what happened with there? There was some 40% that in other cases wouldn't have been
Perdona, pero
done.
que no te entiendo la pregunta. No te la estoy entendiendo.
I don't understand your question. Do you believe that the lack of payment from Barça Vision could has hindered you?
Te la voy contestando por partes como con tu compañera. El impago que hubo en Barça
The failure to pay from Barça Vision, I think it did affect what you said, with LaLiga's criteria to ask us for more requirements.
un impago que en su momento cuando firmamos con la compañía
But when we signed with the company Libero
de Frankfurt,
and with the company from Frankfurt,
tenía personas de reconocido prestigio.
there were people of recognized prestige in the world of football as supervisors on the board. But that was a failure to pay.
Pagado 20 millones.
They were going to pay 20 million. That was produced, but
Veo que es una condición que a veces parece que nos pongan pruebas diabólicas, porque a la propia Liga y a los propios
the Liga
clubes
and the clubs
manifestado en
who
contra,
stood
han recibido
up against us, they've also received a lack of payments.
penaliza o se les
And they haven't been punished or had so much requested from them. But we've overcome the tests, and now we're at 1-1.
Si todo eso, perdone, termino. Si eso en lugar del 27 se presenta el 18.
If this was presented on the 19th instead of the 30th, would you have time to work?
Termino, presidente, termino, presidente.
No, es que ya te he entendido, no hace falta que
No, pero es que no he terminado la acotación, porque ahora mismo el futbolista solo está inscrito para 3 meses, ¿no?
The players are also only registered for 3 months now.
Perdona que te lo diga, pero es que esto
Sorry to say it, but
no se ajusta a la realidad.
this is not the reality.
Pero la realidad es
But the reality is this. The reality is that we're going to try and that we try to inscribe,
teniendo el mejor contrato
register Dani Olmo with this contract from Nike, which is the biggest contract
28 y el triple hasta a partir
that goes that doubles and then triples.
después no sale así, que después sale lo de Christensen, vemos una alternativa.
We found the option of Christensen's injury. We looked for an alternative. We're able to conciliate with the interests of the two players.
Vía Christensen lo conseguimos provisional hasta el 31 de diciembre.
We got it provisionally with the Christensen situation. Then Ter Stegen, of course, we're sad that Ter Stegen's out, but we
El ahorro que conseguimos con Ter Stegen
got a saving that allowed two players to be registered in theory, and it wasn't the case. That was the management. That's what happened. We've had resources because we've got that product that was worked for in 2024. We went to Qatar to look for investors. We got them. There was a registration for 30. We got 30. These are all circumstances that have come up, like things that happen in life. So you look for solutions. But you have to be robust in your organization. A club that works does that to find solutions and find the best alternatives. That's the way it is.
Bueno, yo lo que os he dicho, no voy a prejuzgar nada porque es el Consejo Superior de Deportes quien...
The CSD are the ones who make the decisions on the appeal. But for a sporting body to analyse this question, it means that they've given the provisional method. It means that they've appreciated that there would be significant damage. What convinces me more, it looks as if there's a good use of the law. That's fundamental. Reading the report,
muy bien también en unas declaraciones el presidente del Consejo Superior de Deportes. Leyendo la resolución,
reading the resolution that
la nulidad
has the
porque así como han dicho muchos juristas de prestigio,
null and void method of the resolution.
Vaya, yo soy
I'm optimistic that everything will work out in terms of legality and everything that's been established. I hope that they listen to our intentions and act in the interests of our players. You've also got to bear in mind that the law is very clear about fundamental human rights and working rights.
No han incurrido en el supuesto que contempla, el artículo
in the article reference that isn't taken into account because they've been playing for Barça this season. They'll continue here because they got a active working contract.
La finalidad de ese artículo es la estabilidad de la competición. La estabilidad de competición.
Stabilization of the competition comes with stabilizing the squad.
No es que hemos aprovechado esta circunstancia para reforzar.
We haven't taken advantage of this circumstance to register two players. They were in our squad and they'll continue in our squad.
A ver, el recurso, el Consejo evidentemente resolverá cuando lo considere, pero yo espero que pueda tener en cuenta todos.
I hope that they can take into account all of these, all this reasoning.
No sé, no puedo contar más.
Una última pregunta, Lu, un segon, sisplau. Un segon. Lu, quan vulguis, última pregunta.
Hola, bon dia, president. Gràcies. Dos coses molt ràpides. Molts socis m'han preguntat, sobretot avis,
per
què el club no ha comercialitzat el
camp. Have asked me why
molts nens ho han demanat per ells. I dos, quina diferència
why something hasn't been commercialized
quan t'acaben la samarreta i estaven bruts i els diners de Qatar d'ara? Què ha canviat? Gràcies.
What's a change also with the shirt sponsorship?
A veure, els països aquests del Golf,
Arabic countries, everybody who's gone there has seen that they're in a process of normalization. It's true that at this time, these countries are becoming a place for opportunities.
doncs, que anaves a fer màsters als Estats Units o a Londres.
In my time, you'd go to London or to the United States for a master's.
Cap allà perquè veu que són uns països on hi ha oportunitats.
But now people are going there because they see that there's opportunities for negotiations and.
Home, jo crec que en aquests moments ja estan en el camí d'aconseguir
now we're
estàndards
on the road to achieving some standards that we could consider sufficient. Above all,
aquí potser segurament tindries que diferenciar, i t'ho reconec, diferenciar tot el que...
I think we should differentiate between business and other matters.
La voluntat, per exemple, d'Aràbia Saudí.
I think that the willingness of Saudi Arabia to bring women's football there, the Women's Super Copa, for example, is there.
Representants del futbol, de la Federació de Futbol.
The representatives of the Saudi Arabian Football Federation have told us,
De fet, és una dona, la persona
and she's a woman, she's handling this matter with the Ministry of Sport.
Vull expressar-te que hi ha certa obertura que segurament fa ja uns anys no hi havia.
Obviously, there's things there that weren't there before.
És molt diferent.
It's very different, and we have to make a certain effort to understand things, but
la promoció d'un país,
it's very different, the promotion of a country directly compared to working with a company in a very developed economically part of the world. I feel very comfortable with the investors from Qatar and from the Arab Emirates who've taken the decision to believe in Barça, believe in these products, and help us with the club's economic recovery.
Gràcies per la vostra assistència. Us comento que...
Perdó, el CAT, allà, aquí. Però això el Departament Comercial i els d'AIDA.
The commercial department have done a very good job. It's true that the presentation of CAT was going to be on the 29th of November.
La presentació del CAT amb societat, ara hi ha tot un pla estratègic de comercialització.
There was a commercial strategy
Potser no hem arribat a la campanya de Nadal.
that you've seen for the Christmas campaign.
Ja tindreu, doncs,
I hope that you'll have more news on that over the course of the year. What I can say is we're promoting the image of CAT because it goes to all of our games and all the first team games. I think it's a very good mascot, friendly, and has been very much accepted by Barça fans.
És que teniu penjades, encara no, el quart d'hora sencer que està habilitat pels mitjans, us el penjarem allà perquè podeu utilitzar-lo a la vostra conveniència, d'acord? Moltes gràcies.